Revelation 2248. From the 3rd of March 1942. Messages from the spiritual realm. Earthbound beings. People will certainly resist the messages from the kingdom of the beyond if they are given guidelines for their earthly way of life, for they will always contradict what is beneficial for their physical well-being. Moreover, these messages can never be proven, but they have to be believed, but the belief in them again depends on the will to recognize. For as soon as the human being has the will to attain the right realization, he will seriously think everything through and also thoroughly deal with questions about the eternal divine. But a questioner can mentally receive the right answer, and thus it is then also possible for him to affirm spiritual revelations, that is, to consider them credible. However, where this will to recognize is lacking, there the human being is rejecting without thinking about what is offered to him. He cannot believe because he does not want to believe, and spiritual mediations will rather touch him unpleasantly. Then his will is under adversarial influence, that is, he does not use his free will but allows himself to be controlled by God adversarial power. What is offered to the human being from the spiritual kingdom will only appeal to him if it concerns earthly things or earthly events, yet such messages are of no value whatsoever for the soul's spiritual higher development. On the contrary, they confuse people's thinking insofar as they cannot be offered any guarantee as to whether they always correspond to the truth. For the givers of such messages are always beings who are still very much connected to earth and who try to transfer to people who are of the same spirit, that is, who still belong to earth, that which occupies their thoughts themselves. That is, they are also still too attached to the earth. Such messages can sometimes be true, but then they are unimportant for the development of the soul. More often, however, they do not correspond to the truth, since earthbound beings are still too controlled by the power which fights the truth and uses precisely such immature beings to beguile people and guide them into wrong thinking. The human being has to be very critical of spiritual messages which are received without a heartfelt bond with God, for only the latter guarantees the pure truth. Because the eternal truth expresses itself as soon as the human being establishes the bond with it. But then the faith will also be a convinced one, for a person who unites with God also has the will to stand in the right knowledge. He does not require any evidence, and yet his faith is alive even without such, for he will affirm with his heart what he receives from the spiritual kingdom. Amen.